Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me for another video. I have running backs in this one. I'm going 1 to 32, trimming it just a little bit with all of the buys, but we're still going to get you the running back 1s, 2s, and some flex options as well. This is a critical week. We are pushing closer to those fantasy playoffs. Every play that we make matters. You can lose by a point or two. So I want to give you all the information that you need to make the best decisions possible. If you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down below. I get back pretty quickly and I usually give a very detailed answer as well. Drop a like on the video if you find yourself enjoying the content. And if you have not done it yet, subscribe to the channel because Relentless Press has content Monday to Saturday. I'm dropping 10 videos a week. You might miss something if you don't. Now let's hop in to running back rankings. The king is back on top at number 1. It's Derrick Henry, who has dominated in his last 4, racking up 100 plus yards in every single game with 5 total scores. You cannot stop the train once it is at full speed. Austin Ekeler is at number 2. Back from his bye, he gets Atlanta. He was a top 3 running back in 4 straight games prior to taking a break, and that will not change against the Falcons here. He had an insane 28 targets in his last 2, and if he keeps that up, he will threaten Henry. At number 3, I have Aaron Jones. He travels to Detroit. He is coming off his biggest workload of this season. He handled 24 touches and turned it into 157 total yards. If he gets anywhere near that touch total against the Lions, he will absolutely dominate. At the top of tier 2 is Alvin Kamara. He's at 4. I told you guys that the tutties were coming. Kamara exploded for a trifecta of them against the Raiders, and he finished as the week's overall RB1. He is going to see another 20 plus touches here, and more importantly, he's averaging 9 targets per game in his last 3. Rounding out my top 5 is Kenneth Walker. He is human after all, but then again, he did score in his 4th straight game, and he's averaging over 100 rushing yards per in that span. After what Dalvin Cook just did to these Cardinals, Walker is in for another big performance. Dalvin Cook, speak of the devil, is in at 6. He put up his 2nd top 7 finish in the last 3 weeks, and he seems to be hitting his stride in this Vikings offense as it continues to ramp up. The Commanders are certainly not going to slow him. At the top of tier 3, I have Joe Mixon. He's number 7. He had a really hard time getting anything going against the Browns on Monday night, but Carolina is another plus matchup for him to try to get back on track. The 9 targets that he had last game could be a sign of things to come without Ja'Marr Chase in the fold. Travis Etienne is my next man up. He continues to dazzle. He put up his 2nd straight finish in the top 10. He posted games of 114 and 156 yards on the ground in them, and he scored in each one as well. Now he gets a Raiders defense that's allowing over 23 points per game to the position. A 3rd straight top 10 finish is almost guaranteed. Rhamondre Stevenson is in at 9. He has seen a surge in the passing game work in his last 2, catching 15 balls out of 16 targets for 131 yards. When that is added on top of the damage that he's already doing on the ground, it makes for a combo that is hard to stop. Until we see Damien Harris turn the corner and actually start producing, Stevenson is going to remain a top 10 option. Miles Sanders is next. On just 9 touches last week, he racked up nearly 80 total yards and he scored, once again showcasing his incredible efficiency. Depending on what the workload is for him here, he could easily post a top 5 finish this week. To the top of tier 4, I have Leonard Fournette. He salvaged his day by scoring, but we are seeing some red flags in usage over the last 2. Rachaad White continues to eat into his workload, especially in the passing game, and he's seen just 3 targets in each of the last 2 games. If that trend does not break for Fournette, he is going to fall in my rankings. Damien Pierce is the last RB1 I have for week 9. I think he is okay against the Eagles as long as the Texans can keep this game within striking distance. Now the problem is we do not know how long that could be, and a game script that goes in the wrong direction could absolutely kill him. I still have him here because I think he is worth the gamble. My maybe not so lucky number 13 is Jonathan Taylor. I am lower on him here because I have a really bad feeling about this game on the road in Foxborough. If Sam Ehlinger shrinks, the Patriots defense is going to stack the box and cause cause big time issues. At 14, I have DeAndre Swift, who saved managers with that tutty last week, but he saw just 10 total touches for 33 yards. I am hoping and praying, especially for owners, that was just to ease him back in after that injury, but I think this week against the Packers and the usage will tell us a lot. To the top of tier 5, it's D'Onta Foreman, superhero of last week. He's rushed for 118 yards in back-to-back games, and he saw a whopping 26 carries against the Falcons. If Chuba returns, I think he eats into the workload a little bit, but I am still going to ride the hot hand. James Conner is up next. He should be back from injury this week, and he steps into an excellent matchup against a soft Seattle front. The Hawks allow top 10 numbers in yards per carry, rushing scores allowed, and points per game allowed to the position. Raheem Mostert is at 17. He continues to see the volume, and in Miami's backfield, that's really all that we care about right now. The Bears are going to do the rest for him. They're allowing nearly 25 points a game to rushers, so I absolutely love his upside. Devin Singletary is next at 18. He has 38 opportunities in his last 2 weeks, and the Jets have allowed a rushing score per game so far this season. I am buying that volume in this offense all day. Jamaal Williams headlines tier number 6. The Vulture King posted his 4th game of the year where he's had 2 touchdowns, and he also out-touched Swifty last week. In a good matchup here, he is a solid option. Rounding out my top 20 is Khalil Herbert. He has taken over the 1A role in this offense, even if few people know or understand that yet. Herbert has posted an RB2 finish in 3 straight games, and he's averaging over 6 yards per carry on the season. At 21 is Tyler Allgeier. He will be greatly affected from the news that we get from Cordarrelle Patterson, but if Tyler is the number 1 back, he is going to have a great chance to smash this ranking against the 2nd worst run defense in the league. A.J. Dillon gets a great matchup here with Detroit, and he certainly needs it. He has not cracked the top 25 since way back in week number 1. Somewhere in Wisconsin, Dillon hears me and is saying it with me. You play your playmakers against Detroit. David Montgomery is in at number 23. He has now gone 3 straight weeks without a top 20 finish. Thankfully for him, the usage remains for Monty, even though he's being outplayed by Herbert. And the Finns are bottom 10 in rushing scores and points allowed to the position, so he is set up for a rebound. 24 sees Damien Harris at the top of tier 7. He couldn't get anything going against the Jets, lengthening his slow return from injury. The 13 touches he received were encouraging, as is the opportunity to bounce back in a plus matchup against Indy. At 25 and 26, I have the backs from Washington in Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. I think this backfield could start to get maddening. If it already isn't, of course. I lean Gibby here because he has a role in the passing game, but both of them are pretty touchdown-dependent options. Now, the good news here is that the Vikings have allowed the 8th most rushing scores on the season. To 27 and 28, I have Isiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, for Pacheco, he out-touched his now apparent 1B counterpart, but he has not entered the top 40 since back in week 1. He is going to try to post his best outing of the year in a brutal matchup against the Titans. They allow under 17 points per game, which is 4th fewest in the league. For CEH, the usage is now going into full alarm mode. He lost his starting job last week and received just 6 carries in the game. He failed to record a single catch as well, so you hate to see that. He is here solely for the touchdown upside. To the top of tier 8, I have Rachaad White against the Rams. He continues to flirt with respectability, but he has not been able to break through just yet. Maybe it comes this week against the Rams. At 30, I have Darrell Henderson, and speaking of LA, the Rams just refuse to give Henderson the job. Now, in his defense, last week he was dealing with injury and an illness, so maybe it is a blip on the radar. With Cam Akers still MIA from this offense, if he gets the work, he has a chance at a decent outing. At 31 and 32, the last running backs I'm looking at is in Baltimore with Kenyon Drake and Gus Edwards. One of these two is probably going to have a solid performance. Which one, however, nobody knows. That is the RB2 with a ton of upside question. If you enjoyed the comment, please like the video. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you have not done it yet, please consider dropping a subscription to the channel. That helps me out a lot. We're trying to get over 500 for the first time and hit that goal. You can be a part of that by hitting that button for me. Keep an eye out for all the great content that Relentless Press has. Monday to Saturday, I do waiver wires. I have a week in review where I give you my hottest takes from each game. That was out on Tuesday, so go check that out if you haven't already. I do updated rankings every Saturday of every single position to get you guys all the latest information after what we've heard in the middle of the week. I love to answer your questions, so make sure you drop those down below as well. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Avery Emotpats, and I will see you next time.